but also the nights haven't been too cold either, which has been really lovely.
I think I saw people wearing t-shirts last night.
There you go, that wasn't me. Coming up now, we have the Melbourne Colonial dancers who are bringing to you a story from Western Australia. Western Australia is one of the showcase states for the festival this year, and they are going to tell in dance and costume the story of colonial settlement of Western Australia. The Melbourne Colonial dancers.
Thank you, Carol. I don't have anything else to say. We are the Melbourne Colonial Dancers and Colonial Dance Band. And it's going to be a portrait of the past for Western Australia. It began with Captain James Stirling, who suggested a settlement in the Swan River Valley. The British government agreed to the new colony, which started in September 1829, and appointed Captain Stirling as the first governor. 6 months later, in March 1830, the governor and his wife Ellen welcomed their friend Captain John Malloy and his new wife Georgiana to the colony, along with the Bustle families, who also travelled out on the ship the Warrior. The governor and John Malloy had fought at the Battle of Waterloo together. As the poor land had been taken in Perth, Captain Stirling helped these families establish a settlement at Augusta, south of Perth. It's about 4 days' travel south of Perth. Georgiana loved her home and fell in love with the Australian flora and fauna and the wonderful climate. Who was an excellent hostess, musician, and loved dancing, organised the first ball in Western Australia, September 3rd, 1831. This ball was held in a marquee above Swan River. The guests danced until midnight, after which they were invited to dinner, and then they danced until dawn, when it was safe to go home in the daylight. We will dance La Galopade, which is one of the popular dances of the day. 1833, another Georgiana arrived in the colony, Georgiana Kingsford. She arrived with her parents. She was a botanical artist and recorded the flora of the Swan River region. She is well known for her paintings of the Swan River daisy and the running postman. Much of the flora and fauna was being destroyed by the settlement and all the animals they had brought, so it was very much appreciated by the Botanical Society that we actually have a record of these. A few years later, she became the second wife of George Leake, who was 26 years her senior. George Leake was one of the wealthiest men who had supported the struggling settlers through the difficult years. Later, he set up the First Bank. They held a private ball called the Cinderella Ball at their home in Guildford, where the guests again had dinner at midnight and danced until dawn. We will dance the Cinderella Waltz. This is a dance that's been collected in Western Australia, which was published in 1831. Georgiana invited them to dinner. In 1836, back in Augusta, Georgiana Malloy was asked by a cousin of the governor's wife to collect botanical specimens. Georgiana took up this request with great passion and was meticulous about organising and storing the plants and seeds she collected. Botanists in England, France and Germany were able to grow plants from these seeds, she selected them, and that's where the collections are held now. Through her collections, the world learnt that southwest Western Australia was a biodiversity hotspot. We will dance Gumnuts Quadrille in her honour. by her Aboriginal workers to find the plants and know their history. Unfortunately, Georgiana died after the birth of her second child at the age of 37 years. The botanical world mourned her loss. It was another 30 years before we had anyone of Georgiana's calibre, and that was Sarah Brooks, when her and her brother set up a sheep farm verging on the Nullarbor, northeast of Esperance. She collected for Baron von Müller over 50 years, and she collected over 930 new specimens. It was very much a biodiversity hotspot. In 1850, convicts arrived in the colony, and they were put to work building roads, bridges, and public buildings. They especially built the Perth to Fremantle Road, because all traffic then had been by the river. The last convict ship, the Huguenot, was in 1868.
Put your back into it!
It carried 62 Fenians, Irish political prisoners, who were known as the Wild Geese. By 1871, most of the Fenians were given pardons, but 7 military Fenians were left in Fremantle prison. John O'Reilly, who escaped from Fremantle in 1869 and went to New York, organised to rescue them. He bought a whaling ship called the Catalpa and hired Captain Anthony, who set off for Perth. Fenians John Bresman and Thomas Desmond arrived in Perth in November 1875 to organise the escape. John Bresman was pretending to be a wealthy businessman and befriended a lady in this role. In April 1876, the Catalpa moored off Rottnest Island far enough out to be in international waters.
Keep
It was
moving,
Easter
Sergeant.
1876, and most of Perth was involved in celebrating Regatta Day. Captain Anthony rowed ashore at Rockingham in a whaleboat. John Breslin met 6 of the Fenians who were working outside Fremantle prison. He loaded them into horse and carts, and they raced to Rockingham, with the police soon following in hot pursuit. We will now dance a Scottish dance called the Wild Geese, the name given to the Fenians. In Fremantle, the police took control of the steamer the Georgette, put cannons on board and steamed towards the Catalpa. Then a storm hit, and the Fenians had to pull in the oars and just lay low. Next morning, when the storm had passed, the Fenians started rowing again, and then the Georgette came in sight. We will now dance the Tempest, a dance popular of the day. The rowing became serious. The Fenians arrived at the Catalpa and boarded just as the Georgette arrived. The police fired a cannon, but Captain Anthony was flying the USA flag on the Catalpa. The police, not wishing a war with the USA, withdrew and the Fenians travelled safely to New York. It was the success of this rescue attempt on the Catalpa that stimulated the Irish worldwide, and finally Ireland got their freedom. In the same year as the Catalpa rescue, John Forrest, where's John Forrest? He must be here. John Forrest married Margaret Hammerstead. There's a wonderful photo of their wedding, and Margaret was in a beautiful bustle dress. John Forrest had explored the Kimberley, travelled through central Western Australia and overland to Adelaide. Margaret was an artist of wildflowers and made many botanical collections, especially in the Geraldton and Carnarvon areas. John Forrest became the first Premier of Western Australia in 1890. He supported the suffragette movement. And in 1892, his government gave married women the right to own property. And in 1899, all women were given the right to vote. He also improved working conditions and wages for workers. John believed in federation and spent much time away in New South Wales negotiating a good deal for the less populated states. While Margaret campaigned and helped him get re-elected many times, she was a very talented and popular woman. He negotiated the building of Mundaring Weir, the railway and pipeline to Kalgoorlie, and also Fremantle Harbour. Every time a milestone occurred in these projects, there was a ball held in John Forrest's honour.
Easy man.
Visitors to the Forrest household, I just had George. This is my husband now. This is Margaret's brother, and I'm Jane. And also we have Fred Drake Bottom and his wife Grace Fussell. Grace was well known as a 16-year-old girl on her horse who rode down a cliff face and into the stormy sea and rescued all 50 passengers when the Georgette sank off the coast of Bussington. I must add to that story, one of their Aboriginal stockmen was with her, so she actually wasn't alone. But the story has it, she did all this. And both of them got the Humane Society Medal Award for their bravery, both the Aboriginal worker and Georgette. Grace wanted to practice the dance polka mazurka on the ball program that's coming up. So we're going to do the polka mazurka. We will dance figure 3 and an edited version of figure 4 of the Bonnie Doon quadrille. Australia joined the Federation, and John Forrest retired as Premier of Western Australia and joined federal politics. Thus, what began as a small isolated colony was now part of our great nation, Australia. We are one, but we are many, and all the lands of every dawn. We share a dream, and sing with one voice. I am, you are, we are Australia. That concludes our presentation. We will finish with a grand